What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today once again we're going to be discussing some more Destiny 2 topics and things that have come out recently. We'll be talking about a new exotic and a quest system that drops DLC weapons. I have actually played with these new rewards, so I wanted to tell you my thoughts on them. I also wanted to mention this raid activity inside the Curse of Osiris, some pretty interesting details you might not have known about, as well as some other DLC topics, so plenty to discuss in this video. So let's begin with that quest system. Now, I've seen these kind of sets of weapons around various images, gameplays, and even inside the actual reveal stream itself. These are kind of Osiris or Mercury or Vex themed weapons. We didn't know how to get them. Now, it turns out this is actually part of some sort of endgame quest system, where in the Lighthouse you can see here, there's an actual tracker of your progress towards this quest. So once you complete the campaign, this basically wall is going to track how many weapons you have. Each actual kind of glyph or node or icon on the wall represents a weapon. So you can see they've got 2 done. There are 12 in total, so 12 weapons to collect from this. And the one they're holding is from that set, so the hand cannon. I've actually used this weapon. It's pretty unique. It's actually the most unique hand cannon I've seen in Destiny. Now, if the weapon is good, I still don't know. It could be complete trash, but at least the firing style, the way it recoils and shoots is very, very kind of weird and almost like a sidearm. So it's a pretty cool looking hand cannon. I tried it in Crucible and also in PvE, but it seemed fun. Its main perk is actually Cocoon, so when you store it reloads. So it's a very unique looking and feeling weapon, but I haven't played enough of it to actually know if it's really good or not. Now, another weapon in this set is also the Pulse Rifle, which I've seen quite a lot. It's very similar to the Previous timepiece. I actually used this thing when I went to Bungie and played with it for a couple hours. Did quite like the weapon. It's in the lightweight archetype. The main perk on it is actually Firefly, so it seems okay. As we know, Firefly isn't the greatest in this game, even Dragonfly as it's called now. But in Crucible seems to do pretty good. Obviously, I'll have some Crucible gameplay going up later on my channel. But regardless of the perks, it was a pretty fun weapon to use, surprisingly in PvP as well. Now, 3 more weapons are also seen from the same legendary set. Is firstly this auto rifle. We saw this very quickly inside the trailer, and also the scout rifle inside images, looking a bit similar to the Vex Mythoclast. The 5th weapon from this set is this one, which by design is definitely belonging to the same group. Considering there are 12 weapons in the set and the other pulse is an energy one, this thing, as you can see by the icon, is a kinetic primary pulse, so more confirmation this is definitely from the same set, and unfortunately it's not the No Time to Explain exotic returning, but simply a reskin of the model. One thing we don't know about, but I really hope is true, is that what if in the middle, that once you get all 12 of them done, it unlocks an exotic quest that you get from the middle. That would be really cool, and that is my pure speculation. We don't know anything about that. I mean, when I played this and I was in the Lighthouse, I didn't even know this thing was on the wall. Nobody pointed it out to us, so I just thought it was a bit of decoration. I really hope in the middle you do get some kind of exotic, but at least now we know there's going to be 12 legendary weapons you obtain from each of these points, and kind of forging your own guns after you complete the campaign of Curse of Osiris. So moving on to the next topic, I want to discuss one of the exotics coming in this expansion, and a pretty cool one detailed by PC Gamer. This one I actually saw myself as well, but they managed to get the weapon to drop during their session and they described it. So this is a Viced grenade launcher, first of its type of course, but this one is actually called the Colony. So you can see it right here, we saw it in a trailer, and this thing, believe it or not, fires mini robot spiders. I'm not joking, this thing actually fires little spider robot drones that kind of crawl around and then explode when they find someone. So the way it works, as you can see in the gameplay actually, if you play close tension, is that when you actually hit something directly, it's going to explode and detonate like a normal grenade launcher, but if you miss and hit the floor, it's going to turn into this spider robot, as you can actually see very, very closely, and it crawls around, finds this goblin, and then blows up. So you can't really say Bungie aren't being creative with these exotics. That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard of. Whether it's actually any good is a different question. It could be completely garbage, but it is definitely a very weird and kind of creative idea. Now, you can also briefly see these little spider drone things inside the barrel when it's being loaded. It's got a little glass bit on the front, so you can see the little kind of drones inside the tube. And PC Gamer said when you reload it, you can even see the Guardian hesitating as you put the thing into the weapon. So a very creative exotic. Again, if it's good, we don't know, but that is an exotic called the Colony, a Viced grenade launcher coming in this Curse of Osiris DLC. So next up, I wanted to talk about the raid activity inside this expansion. I assume most of you will know what it is, but I wanted to mention some interesting aspects you might not have noticed, how it ties into the lore and story, an overview of what to expect, and also my thoughts. A lot of you wanted to know what I think of it, but it's a very interesting topic in itself, so I wanted to go through all of that in this video. So let's quickly summarize what this raid stuff is, and then jump into what to expect inside, the lore, and also what I think of this. So to put it simply, they're called raid lairs, as in like an enemy lair, spelled L-A-I-R, not Lair. It's confusing because they're pronounced the same, but this is a raid lair. But it's basically an entirely new raid, but a bit shorter and on a new part of the Leviathan we haven't been to before. So this is a screen when you hit the Nessus orbit. The middle is the original Leviathan raid. The new one on the left is called Leviathan Eater of Worlds. This raid is going to be all new encounters, so different mechanics to beat them, new boss rooms is not the same ones, new bosses, a new final boss, and also different loot rewards. So it's a super weird one, basically a new raid but on an unseen new part of the Leviathan ship, and it's a bit shorter as well. In terms of some details, there is going to be a prestige mode of this raid. Hopefully it's rewarding. They didn't say anything about a challenge mode, but I'd assume there will be. They said it was not as long as the original Leviathan raid, but there are still multiple encounters and then a final boss. They did say it's going to be just as difficult as a normal raid with the same puzzles, mechanics to figure out, and the prestige version is also very difficult. It is going to be staggered to launch, so it won't be available at the launch of the DLC itself, which is nice. So you'd have time to beat the campaign, hit max level, and then there's going to be another race to Worlds first. You don't need to have beaten the original Leviathan raid to play this new Eater of Worlds one. They are separate activities. They are going to be bumping up the required power level of the Leviathan raid itself, the original, to match this one, so they're going to be the same. And the node on the right there is actually the second raid lair in the second Warmind expansion. So it's going to be another different section of the Leviathan with its own rooms, its own bosses, its own loot, and that is going to be the second DLC coming in spring a few months later. So let's talk about what's inside that we know of, and also what I think is very likely to expect in terms of enemies, content, encounters. We actually go through this huge vault door to this new area underneath the Leviathan, which is cool. I've always wondered what's behind such a fancy door. It was completely pointless, but now you actually go through it. Apparently we've only scratched the surface of the ship. Literally, we've only been to the top area called the palace of the ship. There's also an enormous place inside, which is where we're going for this new raid encounter called the Eater of Worlds. And they really kept repeating how big this ship is and how it's been eating worlds, which actually tells you some clues of what to expect. So as Bungie said, we've only been so far to the very top area of the Leviathan, which is called the Palace on the top of the ship, and that was for Callus's entertainment and us proving ourselves to him. But in this World Eater, as the name suggests, as Bungie hinted, we're going deep inside to where the worlds actually get eaten, so don't expect it to be all gold and royal for Callus's entertainment. It's going to be inside the belly of the beast, which is the description of it. Now, something important to remember is that Leviathan right now is currently eating Nessus and consuming it, which of course is an entirely Vex converted world. So with the Curse of Osiris being a Vex DLC, of course, I think it's very possible if there's no Cabal inside this version of Raid, it's very likely that we'll be facing a Vex down there, because again, it's consuming a bunch of Vex stuff on Nessus. I think also the fact there are no Cabal standing outside might kind of indicate this isn't going to be a Cabal raid, and maybe Callus wants us to go in and help clear out some Vex that are causing a problem and trying to consume the ship or something. But I think the fact there are no Cabal outside may be a hint this isn't going to be a Cabal themed raid, and I kind of doubt they're just going to give us 3 Cabal raids all year. So it's very possible and also likely that we see some Vex or maybe other things that are down there. Now, we know this raid is going to be a bit shorter than the first one. One thing I wouldn't expect with this raid is going to be the same layout with the Castellum as the Leviathan, where you do this big courtroom kind of Castellum encounter, and then a room, and then back to the Castellum, and then back to a room again. That's probably not going to happen, because we're not going anywhere near the Castellum, we're going deep underground. So it's going to have a different layout, and I'd expect it to be a bit more of a linear experience like the Destiny 1 raids, where you go simply from room straight to room, and no Castellum in the middle. Now, in terms of my own personal thoughts on this raid or raid layer, I'm actually pretty happy with it, to be honest. My expectations were very low the second they avoided saying there is new raid. I was definitely preparing for some new challenge modes in Leviathan, or some new loot, or maybe a remake. Now, would I prefer a completely new Mercury Vex raid? 100% yes, I think everyone would. I just really want to see another Vex raid, to be honest, wherever it's set. The whole time travel aspect and how the Vex are, they're just really cool for a raid. So I think everyone wants that kind of Vault of Glass 2 experience set on Mercury. That would be perfect. But clearly it isn't realistic for Bungie to pump out that many raids in such a short amount of time. I mean, you definitely can't deny how much effort must have went into Leviathan. Obviously, the loot system, in most people's opinions, in my opinion, is not very good at all. That's not really a problem with the raid. That's more the economy of it. But just the location, the design, the kind of setting, the idea of this massive, giant world-eating ship and this Cabal Emperor that sees you as entertainment, it would be a bit of a shame to see it just go to waste and be irrelevant, like most of the raids end up being in Destiny. Now, the main reason I'm actually excited for this raid lair isn't actually the activity itself or even the loot, but actually the lore and the story of it. For the first time, this is a continuation of where a raid left off. All 4 other raids were just one and done things. You're in, you're out, you beat the boss. But this is a year-long raid story. I was actually really disappointed with how open-ended and vague Callus left it by the end of Leviathan, just teasing some great power he found, but that was basically it. And I was thinking we might have to wait until Destiny 3 to find out what that actually was. But this is a 3-part raid, and hopefully by the end of it, we meet the actual Callus and some cool stuff happens. I will be massively disappointed if after all this, it's very vague and open-ended, and I hope Bungie follow through with it and tell some cool story of this true power that Callus talks about. So, of course, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're excited for this, if you like that it's going to be a bit shorter of a raid and isn't a time commitment, or if you're disappointed and wanted something else, I always love seeing what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. As always, if you want to support the channel and if you enjoyed the video, then a like rating down below is also much appreciated. I made a video yesterday showing off some all new gameplay of this DLC and talking about some new information. So if you want to watch it, you can click the image on screen to be taken to that video. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next one.